everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Not Your Typical Business podcast. I'm your host, Katie Hanna, owner of Details Matter Bookkeeping and Advisory. And today I have with me Jane Wilcom, who's with Eskay Law Group, who specializes in estate planning, estate law, which we're going to learn more about those kind of things. But yeah, so Jane, give me just kind of like the 30-second, about what you do now. And then I want to hear more about like, okay, how did you get from point A to point B?
Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me. I am currently working with SK Law Group, and we do estate planning in a very personal way. We are personal family lawyers, and we like to have relationships with our clients that last throughout their lifetimes to help their families when the families' lives become harder.
Yeah. And so how did you, you went through elementary school and you were just like playing on the playground, like, I'm going to be an estate lawyer. Yeah, I
No
didn't think
way.
so. I didn't think so. So tell me about it. How did you get to, where you are now? What was
Well,
the journey?
it's been a long road, but when I was in college, I was in the business school at the University of Maryland, and this speaker came into our labor relations class and spoke about how he was a mediator for Anheuser-Busch when the factories were on strike. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. That's what I want to do. So
Okay.
I went up and I talked to him, and I said, how do I do that? And he said, well, you have to be a lawyer for a long time. And I'm like, okay. So I
Okay.
went home and I said, I'm gonna go to law school. And my father's ears went up like a little dog. Like, what? And so I said, yep, this is what I'm gonna do. And I
Yeah.
did. And I went to law school and I specialized in personnel and labor relations, just like I said I was going to because of Mr. Anheuser-Busch, mediator. And when I got out of school, well, when I interned, I went to a firm and said, I want to do labor relations. I worked in their department. I got an offer from them. It never happens like that. Nobody, when you go to law school, you don't really have a major.
Right.
And
Yeah. It's
so,
not like a specialty.
right,
Yeah.
I just took all the labor and personnel classes. That was it. Like it was, they don't even call it that anymore. They call it human resources now. That's how old I am. So, and I worked at that firm for a few years and did exactly what I said I was going to do. I never became a mediator because I didn't really like the practice of law in a big law firm. And I left after 4 years and I went and worked in house for a company. And I ended up with 3 in-house jobs in my career of 30 plus years. And I just it was great. It raised my children. I had a lot of flexibility. I was paid well. I had benefits. It was great. There are reasons why you do everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I got to a point in my life where I'm like, I don't like this anymore. I'm not helping anybody. That's not who I am. And it's not really why I went to law school. So what am I going to do? And one of my friends was doing estate law, and she's like, you can do this. So I started training to learn estate law all over again because, yeah, I had one class in law
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. Forever ago. Yeah.
Right. And I did have some exposure to it because I worked for 3 companies that were family owned. So there was estate and probate involved in all of those jobs. And also my parents, that I've lost both my parents. So I, of course, was named because I was a lawyer. I was named their trustees and personal representatives, right? So I had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
exposure to it. But I went back and started training on that. And then I started working for her. And I'm helping people.
There you go. So you
Yep.
not the way that you thought you were going to be,
Nope.
but you're right. Sometimes, and I think too, it's like a lot of times it's like it was right for that season of your life. Like I love
Mhm.
when, a lot of people use that terminology. It's like I'm in this season of my life. And I think that's a good way to put it, right? The
Yep.
seasons change, you know what I mean? Like it allows for that change. Like you don't have to be doing the exact same thing or what you set out to do when you graduated from high school, for the next 50, 60 years. You can reinvent yourself, as
Right.
many times as you want. You can,
Most people do, right?
yeah,
Everything's
most people do. I would love to, like, what I should do is like maybe like a little just sort of anecdotal study of like what's your job and what was your major in college. Like I
right.
guarantee that there's going to be just this wild you know, difference of, you know, I mean my degree is in animal behavior.
Yeah.
I went to, I have a degree, I have a double major in animal behavior and regular like human psychology. And now I work in accounting. Like, you know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
was a total just like 180 flip into something totally different. But, you
I
know,
think a lot of people are that way. Like I mean, you could say I have a business degree, and this is sort of business. What you're doing is family business,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it has nothing to do with what I learned in college. Nothing, zero.
yeah, not at all.
So,
But I think, yeah, and I think too, like until you start doing something too, it's like it's so hard to. I mean, even with an internship's going to give you, you know, maybe a little bit of an idea. Like, I guess you might be able to decide, like, either you know, you like it enough to keep doing something, or you like absolutely hate it and you're like, this is definitely not for me. But other than that, right? Like, unless you're in it for, you know, a good period of time, you're just not going to know what, like, if this was really, you know, where you
for
wanted to specialize.
for sure, because think about it, like an intern, they're getting very low, and also a beginning at the beginning of your career, you're not doing what you want to do. You're doing all the
You get the
grunt
crap.
work,
Yeah, you get the
right?
crap work. Yeah, and you're
Yeah,
not getting any of the cool cases for sure. Like you might
for
work,
sure.
you know, on the crappy parts of the big
Yeah,
cases, but
right,
you're not getting
right.
to do anything cool. Nah.
Yeah, and I thought I wanted to litigate. Like I went to a firm where we were doing cases. I was there 4 years. I went to court once.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a litigation practice. So what does that say? It says that you want to be a litigator, you got to wait till you're really going to go to court when you've been there for 20 years. And then what are you going to remember about how to do that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and
So
that's a whole other animal because, yeah, you could be good at the law part and not necessarily because you got to be really a good speaker and, you know, it's the questions and
fast on your feet and
yeah, good on your
yeah,
feet and, you know, yeah, that's a whole different skill set.
definitely.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I never really thought about any of that. I think I would have just, like, that would have probably driven me crazy. That's too much school. That's what it was, too. It's
Well,
like,
you
I don't
know
want
what
to
I
then also go, you know, to grad school and law school and, you know what I mean? And, like, you know, have to pass the bar. Well, it's
yeah,
the
that
same
was
thing for
horrible.
doctors, too, right? Like, you have to
Yeah.
go to med
Yeah.
school. You have to
Doctors
pass.
is forever.
It's a long time. Yeah, yeah. I was like, I've been in school long enough.
I like
I'm good.
school. I don't I mean I was ready to get out of it by the time I finished law school, and after I took the bar exam I said I'm never taking a test again, any test ever. But when I went back to study the substance of estate and trust law, I found out that I love school. I would come down from lunch and I was doing modules on the computer, and my husband would be like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm having so much fun. I love going to school."
I
I
love
don't
that
think
for you.
well, I don't think you appreciate it when you're young.
Well, that's true too. I will say I am definitely a like proponent of continuously learning. I wouldn't necessarily I've tossed the idea around of like maybe getting like an MBA or
Hmm.
something.
Yep.
But like that kind of like where you have tests and it's like, you know, you have to go to class and, you know, or even if it's online, right, you have to do the courses and stuff. Like that seems overwhelming, but like the, you know, because now I can kind of do whatever I want. Like I can dive into topics that I find interesting. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
like there's a lot of AI now, like AI courses and people talking about AI as it, you know, relates to like accounting firms or,
Yep.
you know, the accounting industry. That stuff's very interesting. You know, advisory type of services. That's interesting to me. So I do have to get continuing education for my license, but as long as it's like approved CPE by the like AICPA, basically, you know,
Yep.
it's you know, you can do whatever you want. So I can kind of there's lots of different options.
And then you get to figure out what your specialty can be if you want to have a specialty. Some people like to have a broad base of a little of this and a little of that because it keeps it interesting.
I've kind of always said that about being a bookkeeper, and I'm also ADHD. Like a lot of ADHD people are entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of them are serial entrepreneurs, right? They like to start businesses and then they're like, okay, I'm bored with that, and they'll start a new one. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I feel like being a bookkeeper has been really fun because I get to know about all these different businesses, right? I'm
Uh-huh.
working with that owner and I'm like, that's a really cool idea. Like, I don't have to start that business myself. I just kind of am living vicariously through all my clients that are like, oh, that's a cool business idea. Or, you know, oh, I wonder, that sounds like that would do really well. And it's like, oh, it is. Because trust me, there's a couple of industries like that. If I really was like wanted to make buku bucks, I'm not in the right industry. There are some that
Right.
I'm like, they're
Yeah.
making so much money. It's like you're like, man, I'm in the wrong industry, but I
But
still
it's
love what I
important.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. That's the most important part. And I can tell you that because I've had many years of different kinds of jobs and everything for a reason or a season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's kind of where I am now. But yeah, so I'm also like extremely interested in the estate law kind of stuff. And just I think that I'm at the right age, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm kind of like, you start to have aging parents and, have to deal with their issues
Yep.
and not all of them had, wills or trusts or anything of the
Lots
above.
of them don't.
Lots of them don't. And it's just like information that it's like this should be common knowledge, but it doesn't seem to be. It's always one of those like, oh, I'll deal with that later. You know what I mean?
Well, nobody wants to talk about it because you're talking about your demise, and I'm going to be here forever. And when some people are of the attitude like, when I'm not here, it's not my problem. So
Oh
why
yeah.
should I? Why should I care? And you should care because it can be expensive. It can create a lot of conflict with your family when they're grieving, and you want to keep everybody out of court, out of conflict, and have your assets protected. And 59% of the adults in the United States have not done estate planning.
Yeah.
So you're in good
It's
company if you
wild.
don't have a will. And if you're a business owner, you need to have a plan for what's going to happen, at least to wind down your business, if nothing else, if you are not able to do business anymore because you're incapacitated or because you've
Yeah,
passed.
that's the
So
other big thing too to like I think remind people is it's not just the will and the estate and stuff is not just about what happens to your stuff after you die. Like it is also like part of the whole process because I've done it. I probably need to talk to you and get it updated, but it's like your advanced directives are in there. Like what do
mhm.
you want to happen? Like if something bad happens, like do you want to be on life support or not, right?
Yeah.
Like do you want drastic measures? Another big thing for us, like we had a kid. You know what I
Yep.
mean? What happens to the kid? What if like Rob and I go take a trip and our plane crashes? You know what I mean? Like you don't want to think about that, but like I mean, we do a lot of things together as a couple. Like there is always a possibility that something could happen to us, and then what happens to our daughter? You know what I
Everybody
mean?
talks
Who takes
about
care of it?
the plane crash, but you're driving in a car
It's
together?
yeah, really. It's like yeah, the car crashes is much more likely to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and people also don't think about the fact that estate planning, if it's done right, also deals with incapacity, and that's not about your death. That's about your incapacity, whether it be permanent, temporary, or permanent. That
Right.
you
Yeah.
need
What
to
if you
have a
got in a
power of
bad
attorney. Yeah, you need to have
Yeah,
a
if you
power of
got in
attorney
a
so
bad
someone else.
accident,
Yeah, or
you
if
know.
you're even if you're away and something happens that you need somebody to take care of it from a legal perspective, that there is somebody out there who can do that. It's critical in today's world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
But the
it's not.
guardianship is undoubtedly the most important thing. If you have minor children and you do not have a will, you need to at least get a will that names guardianship for your children because the court's going to decide who has your kids. And likely it'll be someone in your family, but the court doesn't know that you hate your sister or that
Yeah.
your brother is, a gambler, or like the court doesn't know those things, and they just see the people on paper and say, well, it's their aunt and she lives close by, she probably has a good relationship with her, let's give it to her. And that might not be who you want to raise your child. So it's
Yeah.
really important to get those people named.
Yeah. Well, and it was difficult for us too. Like we really had to think about it. Is like, I right now, right? If school's off, right? It's spring break, whatever. Like the grandmas take care of her, but the grandmas are not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you have to have a long term. Like what would happen? They can't take care. They could take care of her now, but like it's in even 5 years, 10 years.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like she's well, we got the will quite a number of years ago, but like she's only 9 now. Like, you know what I mean? She's going to need somebody to,
For a long
be in
time.
charge of her for a long time. Yeah, she's not like 26, right? Like
Right.
she's
Right.
young. So long term, so it's like who else, could, raise your kid?
Well, that's why
Um,
it's important to review your estate plan every 3 years, we like to say, because things can change. And everybody tends to putting their parents as the guardian. But then if you don't look at it for 10 years, your parents could not be capable of raising your child or could be gone. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
what?
they're not going to be around for forever. You got to find, and that's tricky. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that is tricky.
So, who's going to do that? So, and I'm not, it's one of those like, and that could change. Like we have friends of ours, you know what I mean? So that could change. That relationship could change.
Right.
You can
We
have a
changed
feud with your
ours
brother.
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
We
could
changed
have a
ours
whole
after we did
feud.
it.
You find out your brother's anti-vax or something, and you're like, okay, nope. Something like that
Right.
could happen. Who
And it
knows?
does and it does happen.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to look at it every 3 years or after any kind of change. If somebody whose name dies, or if um, you get married, you get divorced, you have another child, you have grandchildren, all these things can change the way that you plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But I do think it was important to note that a lot of it was, while you're still living, right? It was
yep,
not just what happens after you die. It is that like if you're incapacitated or, if this happens or, all those plus like I said the advanced directive like there's a bunch
yep.
of these other things fine so you have medical power of attorneys, you have financial power of attorneys, like those
I
could
think
be
you went to
different
law
people.
school.
I just from going through the process, I learned so much going through the
Yeah,
process. Like it is definitely a process. Like it's a
it
lot
is.
of work. They're going to ask you 80 billion questions, and that's why we need people like you that can like walk cuz you would never be able to do it on your own. You could do something probably really basic, but the,
You could
the
probably, right. And people think they can. So
yeah.
they go to AI now into, talking about AI again. They go to AI and they're like, make me a will. This is what I want. And the state laws are different and they are not attorneys. They don't know what your particular family situation is. They don't necessarily know all your assets, or you haven't considered them right because you have ones that are beneficiary designated and ones that maybe you hold with somebody else. Like it's
Yeah, there were
complicated.
lots of questions that I'm like, I wouldn't have even thought about this if I wasn't asked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't even on my radar. Like, especially those, those extra things, right? Like, oh yeah, I probably should have an advance directive, a living or a living will, like that
Yep.
kind of stuff. Like you don't think about that. But yeah, and then we have a house, we have these things.
You have a
Another one that you
business.
mentioned well, yes, and the succession of the business.
Hmm.
The other thing, like you were saying that in the presentation at BNI was like it's also, you know, like for your child of how they can use the money when they get the money,
Hmm.
right? Like if there is an inheritance, if it was now when she's young, you're not just going to give a 9-year-old the total sum of all your assets,
Well,
you know.
a 9-year-old can't have them. You have to be 18. But the
Right.
problem there raises an issue again with the guardian, that the guardian, if you haven't laid it out correctly, might end up with that money and not use it for your child, even though it's a fiduciary duty and they're supposed to. That leads again to figuring out if you have the right person and naming the right person and talking about that with someone who knows how it's going to work. Also, you really want to give all your assets to an 18-year-old? Probably not either.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
there were
I don't know
so
about you, but
many.
I wasn't an adult at
No.
18.
No, no. Yeah, there were so many questions about like how she could use them. Like it was like, oh, well, she could use it to go to school. I was like, I want to make sure that there's language that it doesn't have to be a 4-year college. It could be
Yep.
trade school
Hmm.
or to start her own business, right? Like that. It was just like a bazillion questions, even within just that one box of like,
Yep.
what do you do with it? Is like, how is it, you know, like handled after that, right? Like you have this chunk and then it's like how does that actually get to the people that need to have it and when and what can they use it for and like, so you can be I think as broad or as narrow as you want it to be.
Did you find that it was difficult to make those decisions when the person you're working with said, okay, you probably don't want her to get an 18. What do you want her to get it for? And how did you find that you had a difficult time making the decisions or that you and your husband didn't agree?
The hardest part was definitely the long-term guardianship. That was
Hmm.
a hard one because it was
Hmm.
like, again, the grandparents would be your first choice, right? If something
Hmm.
happened right now, sure, but like, they can't, there's a lot of, she's got a lot of growing years left, like they can't be the long-term guardian. So that one was really hard for us to try and figure out like what would happen long term if both of us were gone. But some of the other things, I think we were mostly on the same page, like with what she could use it for and, what are the kind of stipulations and stuff. It was good to go through that process too. I think you'll probably learn a lot about your spouse and like sort of their
Hmm.
ideas and stuff. There was even a whole thing about like what do you want your funeral to look like, right? What do you
Yep.
want, how do you want to be buried? Like we had talked about it. I think he knew because, it's I don't know. Sometimes you talk about you're probably at somebody else's funeral, and you're like,
Correct.
I don't want to be buried. I'm not into graveyards.
Yeah.
It's not my thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Me
and so
neither.
now it's in writing. Now it's in writing. So, anybody can, who had to deal with it is like, okay, she doesn't want to be buried in a graveyard.
Well,
Not my,
there was something I want. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead. It'll come
oh,
back to me.
yeah. I don't know.
No, this is what I wanted to say. We like to say that if you, I want you to make a decision today who it's going to be. And I know it's a difficult decision, but you can change your mind before we finalize everything. If you walk away from here and you don't think about it again, then you probably made the right decision. And if you go home, you're like really struggling with the person's name that you put out there, then it's time to revisit it. It's a hard decision, but you need to make a decision about someone and throughout your life, you can change it.
Yeah, 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 exactly. It's not, yeah, I do remember like we had like she, had some time. Like you maybe have a week or something, right? Like we're
Hmm.
okay, we're going to do the initial questions. I'm going to start drafting it up and then we're going to have another meeting where we talk about, this is what we have lined up. Do you still, did you have any other thoughts or did you want to make any changes or whatever? So I do remember that too, where we had a
Yeah.
little bit of time before, things were, signed and notarized and,
And
to
put in a book.
and put in a book. I do have a big book.
Well,
Uh,
and the important thing is that a lot of people do it and put the book on the shelf and nobody looks at it again until something happens. So you need to make sure that you revisit it every couple of years because you change, your assets change, your family change, the tax laws change. So many things change that could affect what you wrote in that book a few years ago. So it's important that people revisit their estate plans and make sure they say what they want and make sure that they're up to date as far as the tax laws go.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
you're conscious of the tax laws.
To an extent, that would definitely not be part of the tax laws that I know about, right? Like not really so much on the personal side of things. Like I know a lot about what's deductible, what's not deductible, right, when it comes to business taxes. But yeah, any of the personal stuff and, even really like things like capital gains, it's like I know this much, right? I know
Yeah.
enough to be like, there's going to be ramifications. You need to talk to the CPA, right? Like you need to talk to your tax professional because there's special rules. Like I that's kind of how I approach it. I want to know enough about taxes that I know that there's some sort of special rule or, something, special about that enough that I can say, hey, we need to escalate it, right? I don't need to
Yep.
know the answer. I just need to know when to like flag something. So, but I do, yeah, that's part of the education and lots of like newsletters and,
Podcasts.
podcasts and things like that that I get, probably some of them daily. I have a subscription to Accounting Today, and I get lots of they're sort of like daily news. So if anything major is going on, I know about that. But I also get a monthly newsletter from the American Institute of Professional Bookkeepers, which is who I have my license through. And that is, definitely like, here's what's going on. A lot of times what they have is the court cases and how did the court cases turn out, right? Was it for the
Right.
IRS or was it for the tax preparer, and why, or what could you do better, right? Like because a lot of times, the IRS publicate, like they'll go back on their own word, right?
Sure.
Like they'll write a
Yeah.
publication and then they'll just be like, yeah, never mind. That doesn't count.
Well, some of it is political because some of
Yes.
it is appointees. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So
but
you
it does
really
make
have
it
to
hard for the
see.
rest of us.
Yeah, there was one of them that I was really surprised by that, because I do have some restaurant owners, and it is so common in the restaurant industry to pay people under the table, right? Like
Mhm.
that, I think we all know that,
Mhm.
just sort of, again, kind of common knowledge. It's been that
Cash.
way for many years, right? There's cash under the table, the cash tips, right? Where, I think even as consumers, right? Sometimes you leave a cash tip because you're like, oh, they won't have to report that, right? So
Right.
there's a lot of shady stuff. And there was a court case where they allowed a lot of deductions. They were like, we understand that this is the way that industry runs, and they actually allowed for a lot of the deductions, even though they were technically like they should have been on payroll or they should have been, you know what I mean?
Huh.
And I thought that was really interesting. Like that didn't see, I'm like, I can't believe that they allowed it. So I learn weird stuff like that all the time, but that, it comes into play. I've had conversations with my restaurant owners, and sometimes I have to say, well, here's what the law says, right? Here's what the IRS says, but realistically, here's what you could do, or, not to like, implicate them or anything, but just like, hey, if you're going to do that, like, you're going to have to, it's not going to be able to be deducted. You know what I mean? You're not going to get that as an expense off of your business. Like so you can do that, but I don't recommend it, kind of.
Well, didn't they recently make it so tips were not taxable?
Now they did, yes. That's starting this year. That's the one big beautiful bill. Yeah. Tax and tips and overtime. No tax. Sure. You know,
Okay. All right.
whatever works. I mean, that I'm sure that's
I think
also
I
gonna.
think that yeah, that's going to create problems because of the Fair Labor Standards Act that defines who can be paid has to be paid overtime, and most
Mhm.
people don't pay any attention to it. So if you classify somebody as salaried and not overtime, well, if you really should be hourly, I think you're going to see a lot of people fighting about that because they'll make more money because they won't have to pay taxes on anything that's overtime.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, you have that. And well, that's always been, like you said, that's always been a problem. Like when I
Yeah.
worked at the CPA firm, I was on a salary and I got like comp time. You
Hmm.
got comp time instead, like you didn't get any overtime because during tax season, of course, you're working like 70-hour weeks or something stupid. And so you get this comp time, like you could just use it as like kind of PTO basically later in the year, which you could not use all of the hours, right? Like it just wasn't even
possible. Take off the
possible.
rest of the year.
Right? And so it's like, well, I should have been paid then. Like you should cash those out, right? And that I think the restrictions too, if you are salary exempt, it's really only for like the professionals, like a
Supposed to be.
CPA, a
Yeah.
doctor,
A
a
lawyer.
lawyer. I think IT was in there too. You know what I mean? Like it, but it's like it was very specific, not the admin staff, unless
Right.
you're like the, if
Head
you
of the
are,
admin.
yeah, if you were like a a C-level executive, you can be exempt, right? If you are somebody that's making decisions for the company. But I was like, this was when I was just coming back home. So I went to Towson and I stayed in Baltimore and I worked at the Maryland SPCA for like 4 years. So I was in college for 4 years and I was at there. So I was in Baltimore for like 8 years. Moved back home, which I live in Walkersville. I live like 2 minutes from my mom's house. And so and I made that decision to take over her business. So I had to go do some accounting education. Like she's like, oh, I got to teach you everything. Like you have to do a course or something. So I went to FCC. That's how I got that certified bookkeeper. That's, hey, if you got to go back to school, you might as well get some sort of a certification or
Right.
degree or something out of it,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Might as
Yep.
well. So yeah, when I first started, and then I was like, hey, I'll just, it was almost tax season. It was like, I think December or January or something like that, right? And it's like, well, I'll just see if I can get in, right? They're going to need help for tax season. So I just was like straight admin, right? I like put the bundles of tax returns like stapled, because everything was still like paper,
Yep.
you
And you
know,
were learning.
yeah, and I answered the phones and I learned a lot, yeah, about, what the different types of tax forms were, what was for what, when their due dates were. Like it definitely has helped because I know a lot about taxes. I don't know, like, again, don't know the exact, what the exact thing, like, oh, you can only take 30% of this or whatever, but I know that there's a rule
That you
about
could
it.
take it. Right.
Yeah, I know that there's something about this and we need to escalate the problem. But yeah, so I was, basically like admin receptionist, like, helper person.
You were supposed to be hourly.
Definitely not somebody that would have been exempt on salary. Yeah, not at all.
Well, I
So,
wonder
but
if the new law will create a problem on that. I mean, it's not my area of expertise anymore, but
yeah, I don't
I'd
know.
be curious to know.
I think so, because I think in that case, right, like if I was working there now, like you would push back against that even
Yeah.
more because
Yeah.
you'd be like, in that case, it's like, okay, fine, I have comp time. Like, I tried to take like every Friday off for like the rest of the year, and that worked. It didn't work all the time. Sometimes I still had to come in, but it's like, so there was a back and forth. I didn't really push it. I knew it was like, this is not right, but I didn't push it too much. I also was like, I'm not going to work there forever. So,
Right.
but now I feel like somebody like me or even any of the other, people who shouldn't be exempt would push back because they're like, I want those overtime hours because I'm not going to get taxed for it. So that's going to
Right.
all be cash in my pocket, right?
Right.
That's
I'm going
time
to
and a
net way
half.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time and a half, and it's going. You're not getting anything. You're getting that, gross right off the top.
Yeah.
I think there's some
Sounds
other
good.
things. Yeah, right? So, yeah, I think there will be more people that are going to maybe bring that up to, the EEOC or be putting complaints in
Department
about
of Labor. Yep.
yeah, Department of Labor for sure. Um, you know. But on the tip side, I feel like people are going to be better at reporting their tips. Like I think, I
Yeah.
bet we have no idea. You know what I mean? Like they always have statistics and stuff, but it's like you have no real idea how much people are getting, like making in tips, right? Because there's definitely a percentage that were cash. You picked it
Right.
up
For
off the
sure.
table, you stuck it in
Yeah.
your pocket, and that was the end
Yep.
of it.
Yeah.
And so I think we will see more tips reporting. Because
Well,
the other thing you have to think about is if you are somebody like that, reporting a higher income is good because you need that for if you wanted to
credit.
buy a house. Yeah, you
Yeah.
want credit. Like it's good to
Yeah.
show a lot of income. So it might help with that, right? We have this huge problem of people, not being able to, qualify for stuff. And so it actually might, I don't know how much, but it might help.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. We want to see somebody do some studies. We need some
Yep.
studies for, the
We need
next
some,
like 3 to 5
we need some,
years.
and we need some servers to come on and tell us what they're doing.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
might not want to.
I don't know. I mean, again, it's like, now it's like that's kind of come out of, the underground. Like you can report them now because you're not going to have to pay tax on them. So, you
Right.
know, I don't know. I'm sure there's other stipulations. Like I wonder if it would maybe move your bracket though. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
oh, good point.
Some of these people are
Well, it
like
will eventually, right?
I
Yeah.
guess it will, but I mean, some of these people like they're like I don't know, making massively amount more in tips than they are, in just like your W-2 income.
Well,
So,
sure, because aren't they paid? They're not paid minimum wage.
yeah, I don't agree with that either. I feel
Yeah.
like this whole thing
Yeah.
has gotten out of hand. You can't
Yeah.
pay somebody $3 an hour and then just be like, "Oh, you'll make up the rest in tips."
Yeah.
The tips should be they're a tip. They're on
It's a
top of
bonus.
it's a
Right.
bonus on top of
Well,
the
I mean,
service.
you can say that, but then your hamburger now costs $20 at McDonald's.
I know. Yeah, there's no winning. There's no
Yeah.
winning. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same thing with really just minimum wage across the board, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, do I want people to make a living, a livable wage? Yes. But also, right? Yeah, that would just come back to you and then we're right back where we started because then the
Right.
livable wage, right? Everything costs more. So you're still under.
Everything costs more, and it just raises up the base for other people because someone you were paying $20 an hour to, and now minimum wage is 15 instead of 7. Like there's not as much of a gap between what they're making, maybe with a skill, than the minimum wage people without a skill are making.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's crazy.
it is
That's the
crazy.
that's a lot of like economics and that's one of those things, right? Like maybe, that's interesting to me, the economics of things, but I
Hmm.
don't think that it's interesting enough for me to like want to go back to school and
Take a
like
class.
major in economics. Yeah. Now, it's like that's why I like sometimes it's like I can just kind of pick and choose. Like maybe I'll, do a smaller course or I'll do a webinar about something. Like you can kind of follow your curiosity a little bit.
That's true.
So,
I like that.
yeah.
That's the same with the law too, because we can choose to take something and spend way longer than somebody who has more expertise might spend, but at our own expense so that we can learn about it. Or because so we can help somebody who needs help and has reached,
Well,
only
that
knows
would
this
be the
one lawyer.
majority. That's the
Yeah.
majority of what I'm learning. So when I'm going out there and looking for things, I mean, while the like AI in accounting is interesting to me, it's also like necessary. Like, you know what I mean? I have the opinion. There are many people that have opinions. I'm of the opinion, it's here. So you either get on board or you get
Yep.
left behind. So,
I
you
agree.
know what I mean? Like, I don't know that
Yep.
I'm going to be like number one in like the AI accounting world. I'm not. But, you need to be able to like embrace certain things. But I think it's also a lot of times it's like, like I dug into that one about the restaurants because I'm like, I've literally talked to a client about these things and so it's different things like that or I've even looked at software for clients like I'll watch their little like video because it's like
Yeah.
okay, does this connect to QuickBooks? Can I figure, you know what I mean? Like I'll kind of that's probably more than what my job title would
That's your
assume.
advisor part.
It's the
Your advisor
advisor
part.
part, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. Like, let me look into this because I feel like we could, like maximize I'm definitely like a tech forward too. So it's like, oh, well, if I can have the thing talk to the other thing and then we don't have to do it, very work smarter, not harder, right? We're
Right.
definitely
Right.
like, we're not reinventing any wheels. I say that all the time, right? There's probably a software that exists, right? And there's probably a connector that exists. You got like Zapier and stuff. Like we can make things talk to each other.
Right.
So I say that all the time. It's like, people come up and they kind of have a problem. It's like, I can't, you know what I mean? Like I've got too many systems and things aren't talking. It's like, I bet there's an all-in-one system that's probably just for your industry, or,
And you
it's
help
a
them find it.
yeah, yeah, a lot of times it's like, because I can't help myself. I'm like interested now. I think I like software. I like databases. I like technology. So I'm not like, oh, I bet that exists. Sure enough, it does. Why don't you look at these three things, and throw that in there. But yeah, and then like I said, I need to be on top of, I had to do a lot of like reading about the One Big Beautiful Bill. I did webinars
Yeah.
with a HR consultant friend of mine that was talking about the no tax on tips and overtime.
Mhm.
And then we did another one. Um, shoot, what was that? Now it's been a little while. It was another part of the One Big Beautiful Bill. But, that was a lot of changes, right? Like there's a lot of things going on with that bill. So it's like I
Well, it
really had to
affected
like dig into it.
it affected the estate planning world too, because it raised the federal estate tax minimum and then gave it a automatic adjustments for inflation that it didn't have before.
Yes,
So,
yeah. So you have to dig into it, like, you know what I mean? But I think there are other people, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how common that is in my industry. You know what I mean? Like, it is for you because you have to get, you at some point have to get continuing education to keep your license, right? But it's not required for me to have a license. So, you know what I
oh,
mean? Like, there's no
really?
regulation. Yeah, there's no regulations in the bookkeeping. Now, yes, for tax, but not for
Yes.
bookkeeping. The
Huh.
bookkeeping, the advisory, the payroll, like, you could just start doing those things. Like, there's nothing that says you can't. So I'm a little bit ahead of it. So I wonder how much like the people who don't have a license, like aren't required to get CPE, are actually like doing those kinds of things. Like
Well, I think
I'm watching every single, they do a QuickBooks, it's called In the Know, and it's like their product updates webinar every single month for like the pro advisors, for like the accountant community of like, here's what's going on, here's what's new we've added, you know what I mean? Here's what's coming up. I watch every single one. If I can attend them live, I get one CPE out of it. If I don't get a CPE, but I do watch the recording because I need to
well,
know. That's my main software. I need to know what's going on, what's coming
well,
in, what's happening.
the only thing that's constant is change.
Yes.
So if you don't stay up on it, then at some point you become behind.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to. I'm definitely in the I'm not getting left behind, right?
In every career, I think. And
It
not
depends,
only
I
just in
think.
careers, in life too, because like this whole AI thing, like if we were talking about it today about yesterday was my dad's birthday, and we were talking about how we gave him an iPhone and he kept it for a week. He's like, I don't like this. And we're like, you have to embrace it. Like you have to. And he wouldn't. He had a little flip phone, which honestly, he would call you, he'd say, call me back, and then he'd turn the phone off. So he really probably didn't need a phone.
No. Yeah, maybe not.
But I think it makes you old if you don't stay up with the changes too. And who wants to get old?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think the people who aren't embracing the change, and I don't necessarily blame them. Like if I was going to be retiring in the next year or two, like I might not bother with the whole AI and like, embracing it and bringing it into my company because I'm
For
getting ready to
work?
get rid of it.
No,
But
but you can use it personally too.
yes, yeah. But I mean, for the industry stuff, like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've been using
yeah.
it for, well, also the things that I use it for are not necessarily, they're kind of more like on the marketing and the, structure, like operations kind of stuff that are not necessarily accounting specific.
Hmm.
Like they're not industry, like I feel like everybody kind of uses it, or people who use it, like they generally, those are the types of things like, I need to write an email, I need to create a blog post, I need to do this,
Yep.
and it like helps figure all that out. But the actual like accounting, because like now we have AI that's going to categorize transactions for you, and we have AI that is, there's a lot in here about security, right? Like you can upload your financials to the AI and be like, tell me about it, right? Like, tell me about those things. But is that, while it can do those
Safe.
things, is that safe? Yeah. Is that safe to do? Like, Rita will tell you, right? You got to have the guardrails. So we're not doing any of that yet. But I think that there's an opportunity, because, even like, because QuickBooks now has like AI financial summaries. They have it in my practice management. There's AI financial summaries. But even when you open them, it says things like your income's up 10%. The QuickBooks one says you have an anomaly in April. That was what it said. End of story. It's like, okay, what does that mean, right? So
Right.
that's where I see this, right? That's kind of the forward momentum of, yeah, we might be able to have AI that's going to kind of do the data entry and maybe bring some of those things to our attention. But like,
Mhm.
even that, it's like, we're still going to have to like translate that to the business owner.
Well, I
Because
hope
it's
so,
like,
or else we're all gonna disappear.
you
What are
know,
we gonna do if AI does everything? What are we gonna do?
I guess you quit and you go into the trades and you go into the,
Yeah,
things that are,
not AI.
yeah, build houses, right? Actually,
Yeah.
I have a podcast called My First Million that I listen to all the
Uh
time.
huh.
And
Yeah,
they
I've
were
listened to
talking
it too.
about this guy who, like, his specialty is like building factories. Like, that was what he does. And so he's like doing this where it's like basically 3D printing houses. Like he's got this factory and it's like you decide what you want and then they like build it, with robotics and stuff. They build it and they ship it and like boom, there's your house. So I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just be 3D printing houses. The robots will just come and just build it. So maybe not. Maybe the AI and the robotics will take over the trades at some point. But, you know, I
It's a
think,
little bit
yeah,
scary for our children because these entry level jobs are all being
I
eliminated
think
by.
I think that's good. I think that's the thing. I think that's what's going to stop it is because not because it's not useful, but because like now what our unemployment is like 80%. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
nobody has jobs because AI is doing all the jobs and nobody makes money in the economy
Crashes.
it crashes and dies.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that is what's going to stop this like AI boom is it's going to get to a certain point and it's not that it couldn't go further, it's just that like we've cut it off because at some point one too, right? Like I'm at a point too where, I will at some point retire. Like who then, you maybe it'll be more of a thing to have apprenticeships and internships because if you've eliminated all the entry level jobs, then there's no interns. So how do you
Right,
learn? You get out of college and you're expected to be like a senior manager that can, you know what I mean? That's like operating all these AI bots. I guess you
right.
take AI in college. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
we
for
have an
sure.
AI.
Everybody's going to take. That's going to be like the
Yeah.
freshman class.
But still, like it's not like maybe there will be entry level jobs that are like managing those, but at some point it's like, okay, well we can't have like it taking all of the entry level. Like the entry level is there because people enter, right? It's not like, I don't think a lot of people are working an entry level job for 30 years, right? It's the
Right, let's hope
starting and
not.
you
Right.
work your way up. And if
But
you're not
but
going to bring
also
people in,
but also like AI, the way that they're feeding it is by giving it information that people have created. They're not going to be able to make their AI's not going to create. They'll create things, but they're not going to create everything. We're still going to need people to make the content, right?
well, and the thing is that
I'll be
AI
dead
does
before
not,
then.
well, yeah, I don't know. We'll all be, because Skynet will happen. But, they'll just kill us all. That's the other possibility. Uh, you know, but yeah, I think you're right. It's like the other thing is like that I hear all the time is that, the AI does not have human emotions. They are not going to, like, you cannot use it as like therapy, right? Like mental health kind of stuff.
People
Like it
do.
doesn't, they do, but it doesn't empathize. It doesn't have any human emotions. It doesn't know how to have empathy. And that's a lot of what goes into my business is empathy. I think that, the reason that I land clients is, that I bring it to, my whole like persona, even my whole branding is, the not your typical bookkeeper, right? I'm coming
Mhm.
at this not as some sort of corporate, gap accountant. I'm coming at this like I'm another business owner. This is my specialty. You have your specialty. and like let's work together, right? Like I can bring my expertise to this. You have whether I use their services or not, because
Mhm.
now I have a lot that are all like in the same thing. It gets to be a problem sometimes. It's like I love you and I would use you, but I already have this relationship over here. But I understand it. Creatives are one of my biggest clients, right? Because to me, it's like we were saying in the beginning, it's the creating the Canva stuff and like designing and like
Yeah.
creating all this stuff, the content. It's like the same reaction that a person would like. They look at numbers and they're just like, ew, right? It's like I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to do numbers. This is all like I just don't want to be involved in it. That's my reaction to having to do all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's like
Right.
I feel, right? It's a different aspect of the business, but it's the same feeling. It's the
Hmm.
same, gut reaction to, or I'll push that off
Oh,
till later.
sorry. Sorry.
Oh, it was the dance party that we do at
Yeah,
the
it's a
end of
dance
every
break,
episode.
cardio dance break.
Yeah, at the end of every episode now, we have to have a dance break.
What are you, Ellen?
No, no. Yeah, well, maybe that's stage 57,
Next
right?
season.
Next, that's a lot of seasons from now. I have my own talk show. Maybe. I don't know. I probably could. I'm definitely a chatter, as you can tell. I would have no
I think you could
problem.
do it. I think you
Yeah,
could do it.
yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of the interesting parts of all of that is just we still need that human aspect. You're still gonna need people, and people still want to talk to people, right? Like you
Yes.
don't like
Yes.
as consumers, we don't want to talk to AI. Like there are things.
Representative.
Yes, we don't want to. So that's where I think the cutoff is going to be, right? Like we are, and especially like, right, we got like Zoom overload, right? We got like Zoom
Right.
fatigue over COVID because you couldn't be in person with people. You're like, I miss it. I'm sick of seeing people on screens. I want to go in real life. And, I think it's the same thing. It's like we're playing the same game all over again. This all started when the internet came out, right? We had this whole thing, the internet's going to take all our jobs and it's going to have all this information, it's going to do all these things. And we figured it out,
Yeah. I
it
mean, but it's the same. It's the same. It comes right back to what I was saying at the beginning that I want my practice to feel like I'm that person, right? Like that it's people. I want to be people centered. I don't want to be document centered. I don't want to be transactional. I want to know who you are. I want to help you. And I want to be able to help your family or help you when something tragic happens. That's that's what I want to do in this last season of my career.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's it, right? Like, I want to come and talk to you. I want you to ask me all the right questions, right? I want you to kind of put it. And if you are like, if we were on this and you had, the AI summary that's transcribing the meeting, or if you took,
Hmm.
took those notes and you put those in and it like actually put it into a will format, more power to you. Like, I don't care about that part.
Right.
Right? It's
Right.
like I want you to like be like, okay, here's your options, here's, what other people, in similar situations have done, like giving some maybe advice about, or like, here's what you could do to maybe, think about that some more, right? Like it's that personal relationship where you're like, okay, I hear you, I understand you, I empathize with you, I want to help you. And then, yeah, if
Yes.
you can do the back end work, like I don't care that you didn't sit and handwrite, like whereas blah blah blah, like like legalese, like
You
every
know
single
my
letter.
language.
I do. Well, that's like a proclamation. The
We're
whereas
here
blah blah
too,
blah.
here
Yeah,
for,
yeah, yeah. I don't care about that. In fact, I think it's
here to
probably bet my
pertaining.
money. My money is better spent for you not charging me the hours to do all of those things, right? It's better if it takes you, a third of the time that it
Yeah.
used to,
Yeah.
because that's going to be, not as not as burdensome on people. You can do it, without charging, you know, giant
So
amounts of money.
I just want you to remember, or other people to remember, that so they need to find somebody that they can talk to, because like you're saying, what it said, the heretofore pertaining upon things aren't what's important. What's important is that what you say is important to you, and the concerns and wishes that you have are memorialized in those fancy words by the computer, but they have to be understood by the person who hears you say them. And that person needs to have empathy to make sure that those things make it into the written language.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
let a computer do it. Don't let AI do it.
Well, yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that I've said about that too is like it's going to be the same as like when we first started getting the internet and we started getting things like it wasn't even Google, right? At first, it was like Yahoo search and stuff, right? It's like
Right.
you had to learn, like I had to learn this in college, maybe a little bit in high school. You had to learn how to discern the information, right? Like, how can you tell if this information is true or not? And I think that's a big thing in AI because AI just makes stuff up if it doesn't know.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And so you can get it to be like, where did you get this from? Like, what's the citation? And I think you can also start to judge, like, as you have the experience, right? You have the experience as a person because you know all the laws and stuff. So even if it's doing a little bit, you'd be able to tell if that sounds legitimate or not, and
If
know
it
like where to go to really like fact check. And
right,
that's
right.
another, I think, big part of it is like it's like Google, right? You can't
Know
just
your source.
trust
Yep.
everything that you see on Google.
Yep.
Is that relating to some blog post from some 12-year-old in their mom's basement, or is it coming from the industry association? Is it
Well, it's right.
TikTok financial
It's
advice, or is this
it's
advice
right back to the
from
it's right back to the playground, though, right? Like, know your source, know who is talking to you, and know, like, the gossip that you're hearing from some little gossip monger may or may not be true, right?
yeah,
It's the same sort
a
of
lot of
thing.
judgment that I think that's the
Yes,
big thing
yes.
is like people who can, tell and be able to monitor and like really be able to like fact check and understand that, this is it's helpful, but it's a tool. It's not
Right,
it
right.
can't replace everything. It's always going to need somebody that's like managing it, even if you
I think
treat
you've
it.
been talking to Rita.
I do talk to Rita. I do talk to Rita. I'm going to have Rita come and help me build some things for my business, like especially like the training documents was one of them. Like I basically have a Google Drive file and it's got every video. I do a lot of videos. Like I can like show people like here's how you do this, right? So I have a lot of videos, transcripts from those. Like SOP, like step-by-step instructions, like just a billion things. Like, and now it's just like, it's not that it's not like in folders and it's like well organized, but it's like to be, if you're like, hey, I need to know how to, map these accounts from Gusto to QuickBooks, right? Like you're not going to go digging through all of that to find that one thing, or they might not even know that the thing exists. So if like I could take that whole database so that, if they ask the AI, like, how do you do that? It'd be like, oh, here's how you do it. And here's the document, right? Like here's the SOP for that.
Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's totally doable. It's just a matter of that. And then also, having somebody like her who's like the AI expert, like I trust her to be able to set those guardrails of like,
Yes.
while yes, I want it to search those and give that information to my staff, I might not want that. Oh, some of it is like I was in a client's file, right? I was in a client's file and
Oh,
I
so you
said,
can
here,
see it.
so you'd be able to see like, proprietary information or confidential information, like it's an internal document. So like there has to be some, guardrails that it's like this is all just like internal proprietary information, confidential information. It's not on the Chat GPT, which I'm not using
Right.
Chat GPT. It's like you know, out in the rest of the universe.
Yeah.
Got to be
Yeah.
careful. We got to be careful
Yes, you
about these
do.
things.
You do.
Like you didn't want
Yes.
to upload that to, Google.
Right. Right.
Not good. All right. We've talked forever, so I feel like we could
I thought it was
talk.
great
We
fun.
had a good time. It's like, man, we could talk about these things forever, but we got to cut it out, cut it
Oh,
off.
we have to go back to work?
Well, I'm not going back to work. No, this is
No.
this is the it for the day. It's
I have
Friday.
to finish the Canva document that I've been struggling with.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I'm ready, but I did stuff all week and all day today, and I kind of got through a couple of things that I really wanted to get done, you know. So I'm definitely like a 7 to 3 kind of person. Like after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my brain's not working as well. Like I even told a client this like the other day too. It's like, you know what? Like I will look at that first thing in the morning when my brain's fresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you do not want me like looking at something, doing any kind of like, heavy brain power at 3, 4, or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's not my best time either,
It's
but
not it's not going to be good. I can talk to people. I'm happy to have a meeting. I'm great at that's fine, but the digging in and like really like focusing, no. I'd rather get up earlier. Like I've even done that where I've had to like get up early before maybe a 9 a.m. meeting or an 8, I'll do meetings at 8:30. I'll get up early and work on it. I'm not
yeah.
I'd rather do that than stay up late.
Me too. And I'm not a
ready to
stay up
crash
late
out.
person either. Like I can't. The idea
No.
of staying up till midnight once a year on New Year's, and then I want to be sleeping at 12:01.
Yeah. It's like a ball drop right at maybe
Right,
just in
exactly.
bed. You could just watch
That
it
works too. That works too.
in the pajamas. Actually, I
Yep.
don't think we have a young kid too, so I don't think that we're not really going out to parties and stuff. She can stay up till midnight. I think she's more of a morning person. Like she wants to like probably 10 latest she wants to go to
Yeah.
bed.
That sounds
So
beautiful.
I haven't been staying up till midnight in like the last like 9 years basically. Like I didn't have any reason to.
Yeah, well, things will change. I
Yeah,
promise you.
I can. Sometimes I end up doing that and it's just because I'm like sucked into whatever TV show or
Right.
I'm doing
You're binging.
cross stitch was one of those, right?
Oh.
One more row. I'm just going to finish this little bit and like 2 hours have passed. We just do
I'm with you.
one
I'm
more
with you.
level of a video game. So yeah, there's definitely been nights when I've stayed up like well past midnight and I'm like, that was a mistake. Why
The
did I
next
do that?
morning.
The mistake the next morning. Yeah, that's a lot of coffee the next day. All
Well,
right.
thanks for having me, and
it
I'll
was
see
so
you.
much fun.
I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, for our BNI meeting. So
Yeah.
that's how Jane and I met. We're both in a BNI chapter together. A lot of the people on the podcast have been BNI chapter members or clients or former clients or. So we got more of my BNI friends because I was like, guys, who wants to be on the podcast? Let's do it. And Jane's like, me. I think I'm doing Serena next week. So we're going to talk to Serena. I think Kim's in a couple of weeks. So yeah, it's lots of fun.
Well,
So
fun.
thank you so much.
I'll listen to them.
Yeah. You can find it on my website or nytbpodcast.com, which leads to my website has a podcast and it has all the former episodes on it. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast.
Wow. All right. I'm going
all
to go
the
look.
things. So yeah. And how can people get in touch with you? Tell us where we can find you.
Well, you can find me at www.sklawgroup.com, or you can, I could give you a QR code or my email address, which is jwilcom@sklawgroup.com.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks, Jane. It was great
All
chatting
right.
with you today.
You too, Katie. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.